Men of Reddit, what's the creepiest thing a woman has ever said to you? Did some mushrooms when I was like 18 or so. Sat in the town center and the local crazy lady asked me, so how long have you been dead? Ducked my whole day up, man. Whoa. That's probably the worst thing anyone could say to you on shrooms. Someone telling you schizophrenia runs in your family is also up there. A girl once told me that she was jealous of her friend because she got raped and got a cute baby out of it. I don't think I ever felt less comfortable. What the duck? She said my dead brother was talking to her. Holy shit, duck that. Drunk woman with an older lady nearby sat down next to me on a bench and looked at me. I'll duck you if you can beat up my mom over there. Tell me more, did she put up a fight? I hate to tell you this, but Elle had to have an abortion, and it was yours. We never did more than kiss. I mean, I'm a pretty solid kisser, but not that good. I had a lady friend who was adamant she was pregnant with my child. I pulled her dad aside and explained what she had told me, expecting a lashing and how I'm gonna pay for this kid. He calmly goes, she does this with everyone who wants to leave her, just walk away and have a good life. 100% wish he was my dad. Cool ass dude with a shit daughter. I stopped seeing this girl because she got a little stalkerish, and one day after getting home from walking my dog, Betsy, I got a text from her saying, Betsy got so big. Proceeded to shut my blinds and deadbolt the front door. Well, that's going to make it harder for you to escape, and for anyone to see you struggle, since she's obviously already inside the house. Back in college I was at a study group and I found myself talking to this girl. Just talking about class and eventually just talking about random other stuff like life at school and favorite places to eat nearby. Then after a moment of silence she tells me that she wants to see me fight off a group of guys trying to attack her and hold me while I was beaten up and bleeding on the floor. I mean, just randomly dropping that on someone when a minute ago we were talking about best places to get cheap food is a bit much edit, for the dozens of people asking. I just kinda brushed it off and awkwardly tried to turn the conversation to something not about me getting violently beat up. Also, I'd maybe talked to her a handful of times and always in class, and this was the first out of classroom conversation it had with her. Shame on her, assuming you couldn't hold your own and come out not bloody and beat up. Edit. Thank you kind Redditors for all the upvotes and my first gold. I would never have thought this comment would be the crowning achievement of my Reddit career, but here we are, so thank you all, smile. I worked at a fast food place years ago. My girlfriend came in for a milkshake, and was waiting at the end of the counter with one of our regulars. Doris, the regular, was near 90 years old, and had invited me home to have pot roast at her house multiple times. I was being a pain, and put about a foot of whipped cream over the top of the lid of my GF's milkshake and brought it to her. Doris looked at her, then looked at me deadpan and said, I wish you'd cream me like that. Doris never ordered desserts. Edit, added a much needed space. I just imagine the female version of Herbert from Family Guy. Lamau was on a nearly empty plane, sitting in the last row, in a window seat. No one else in the row. I eventually fell asleep. Woke up with a tatted up goth looking chick sitting next to me, eyes boring a hole through my head, just straight up staring unblinkingly at me. I look at her and am like, hi? She stares for like 5 more long seconds and then exhales. Sorry, you look like an angel sleeping with the sun on your face, she said breathlessly. We chatted for maybe another 30 seconds or so. She apologized for staring like that a couple more times, then she went back to her seat. Shit was surreal though. Do you want to stick it in my sticky pussy? I was still a virgin and this question did not convince me to stick it anywhere for a while. Lamau, was she my neighbor? I used to have these crackhead neighbors that would get in crazy loud public arguments, and one night we were in bed, and all we hear from the apartment below us is him screaming, I am so sick and tired of your squeaky stinky pussy. We weren't even mad, we couldn't stop laughing. Squeaky is a descriptive word I've never heard used to describe that often described place. A complete and total stranger walked over to me and said, I need you to rearrange my guts with your cock. She pointed at the men's bathroom and then walked over and into it. While I left. This woman had 20 years at least on everyone in that place, and the best way for me to describe how she looked is to say half-crushed beer con. She pointed at the men's bathroom and then walked over and into it. It's horrible that she said that and all, but I do love the idea of her just standing next to a urinal waiting impatiently. My friend was a bouncer at a very fancy cocktail lounge in Soho, NYC. There was a woman who would come in occasionally, Head straight for the men's bathroom, walk in, lock the door, and offer to duck whoever was in there. She was very attractive and very weird. Some men took her up on it. Others freaked out and got the manager. She had to kicked out repeatedly. That's disgusting. You should tell us which cocktail lounge so we can avoid the bathroom. She told me she would rather kill me and then herself than see me with someone else. So since you're still alive, how long y'all been together, now? Please send help. I haven't spoken to her in years actually. But I'll admit I stayed in that relationship way longer than I should have. Glad you're out and also alive. I want to have your ADHD infested children. Are you ADHD infested? I have tested positive. Called me at work and said you don't know me, but I know you. Lost your chance to get out of the matrix. That was my first thought. Morpheus? Some woman asked me to stick my tongue out and then said you gonna make someone really happy with that big tongue of yours. I was 9. That's ducked up. I'm, like, really submissive. Like, I let a guy shit in my mouth once, and I didn't even like him that much. For context, it was our second, and last, date. Well, slaps knee, this was a fun date but it getting really late and I have this thing tomorrow her but our food doesn't come yet, ya haha, okay, catch you later, finger guns. Bet she didn't even order food. I'll have what he's having, later, there is no edit. I worked at a caviar bar in SF and it was basically cougar bait. One time this relatively older lady said you look just like my son. You should come home with me. You should not follow from A. I was sleeping with a woman in her 40s and my mid-20s. One day after sex she looked me deeply in the eye and said, "Wow. You really remind me of my son," with a big smile on her face, and leaned in for a kiss. It was our last date. Will you sleep with me if I drug and stab you? It'll be Funi was waiting for my bus at 6 a.m. I'll sleep with you if you promise not to do those things. What if it's just a little poke? On a scale of thumbtack to Darth Maul, what is your depth ratio of blade to intercourse? Or brand new sentence. As a physical therapist, fresh out of PT school, I was tasked with massaging the piriformis muscle of a 40-something woman, who was in town on business. For those of you who don't know, the piriformis is located in the area of the butt. So, it was already dicey. She was wearing a skirt and a thong underneath. As I was massaging she began verbally directing me. Lower. To the right. Lower. Right some more, etc., essentially verbally moving my hands to her anus. As I was getting closer, I was also getting more uncomfortable. Finally I said, "This isn't where your piriformis muscle is." She basically proceeded to tell me I was incompetent, and that she has had this done many times, and I was the one that didn't know where the piriformis was. Then she threatened that she was friends with the owner, and if I didn't massage where she wanted, she was going to complain. I told her that was okay, and I didn't feel comfortable touching the area she was wanting me to massage. And I left the room. She left, and nobody ever mentioned it to me, and I never saw her again. Edit, I just remembered this bit. This was back in 2005, so nobody had smartphones yet. But she had a BlackBerry. And the whole time this was happening she was text-mailing somebody on her BlackBerry. Which made the whole encounter that much more bizarre. You handled that very well, I'd say.